morning. Nice to be back. I hope you're all okay. It doesn't actually feel like 2 weeks since I've been away. It's gone incredibly quickly. I imagine you probably feel that the summer's gone quickly too. But I hope you've been enjoying it, and I hope you had a great bank holiday weekend. So today I'm going to be talking about knowing yourself, and it's a topic that I've been thinking about quite a lot as I've been working on developing the programme that I run for lawyers who want to get out of their jobs. But it's not just about lawyers who want to leave their jobs. You know, knowing yourself is so important generally if we want to have a happy and fulfilling life. So it seemed like a good topic to talk about generally. And one of the problems that we often find as we progress through adulthood is that we can actually lose sight of ourselves and lose who we are because we're so busy with work, with family commitments, that we just we neglect ourselves and actually who we are and what we like. And that's why it can be quite a task to uncover it when we actually want to start looking at making some changes in our lives and just really coming back to ourselves. And one of the interesting things I think is that we often, our identity becomes bound up in our roles in life. So if you're a parent, you'll know that, you know, once you become a parent, you then become known as so-and-so's mum. Or so-and-so's dad, obviously, if you're a man watching this, you know, and you for that period of time, particularly when your kids are in school, you are just known as that person's mum, not as who you really are. And it can be the same with employment roles. So when I was a solicitor for years and years and years, because that was over 25 years, I was known as a solicitor, which meant that when I left law, it then became difficult when people asked, you know, what do you do? I didn't know initially because I was still looking into what I was going to do, but it became hard not to say I'm a solicitor because I was used to that. And I think our identity does often get bound up in what we do, as people like to put labels on us. You know, when you meet somebody for the first time, after they ask you what your name is, the next question is usually, and what do you do? And it's a bit crazy, really, that we look at people in that way. It's because we want to put them in boxes. You know, we want to fit them into our experience of the world by putting them in that solicitor, accountant, healer box, whatever it might be. So it's all kind of bound up together with that thing of really losing sight of who you really are. So as some of you may know, if you've followed me for any length of time, I had to do a lot of unpicking and soul searching really to find out who I really was when I reached a sort of crisis point in my life of thinking, well, what am I going to do next? I knew that I really needed to know first who I was because I had just completely lost sight of that. So there are some things that I knew and other things that I didn't. So I knew, for example, that I was an introvert. I mean, I'm sure you will know if you're an introvert or an extrovert. I knew that I was a morning person, not a night owl. And again, most of you will probably know that. Are you an indoor or an outdoor person? That can be really key, actually, because I guess I never really thought of myself as an outdoor person up until the time that I was looking into who I really was. But actually it became really clear to me that I am an outdoor person. I feel terribly hemmed in if I can't get outside. So it's no wonder that I felt trapped in my job as a lawyer when I was inside most of the time. Environment actually is really, really important, and knowing what environment you prefer can be one of the keys to how happy you're feeling. So for example, I know somebody who comes from a very flat country who moved to Switzerland for the mountains because she loves the mountains, and she's a ski instructor in fact now. That's what she loves to do. you know, if you have spent a lot of time in a city, like I did when I was a solicitor, but you're not really a city person, then that will tend to make you feel hemmed in. I know that before I moved down to Devon, I used to get that fantastic feeling of relaxation as soon as I was coming down the motorway, left the built up environment behind, and I started to see green fields. I would literally feel my shoulders drop as the tension started to release, because I am at heart somebody who likes to be in open spaces, likes to be in nature. So you might love city life, and that's great. If you do and you're living there, then fantastic. But it may be that you're living in a city and you actually crave countryside. So maybe you need to think about moving to the countryside. You know, there are all sorts of environments: mountains, coasts, rolling hills, countryside, cities, the tropics. You know, it may be that actually what you're craving is the kind of environment that only a foreign country can give to you. But that environment is really important. But it also extends to your home. So if you're somebody who likes a lot of open space, but you're living in a house or a flat that's very small and enclosed or has a lot of clutter about, then that's going to make you feel hemmed in. Maybe you need to do a bit of a declutter. Anyway, I digress. That is just one aspect of knowing yourself. It's all about really knowing what makes you tick. And just to go back to discoveries, when you start looking into who you are, I've talked before about discovering when I was age 59 that I'm an HSP, which means highly sensitive person. And when I did discover that, it just ticked absolutely tons of boxes for the person that I am, things that I knew about myself, but I didn't know that being a highly sensitive person was a thing. And if you think you are, then I highly recommend taking the test, the sort of mini quiz that you can find on Dr. Elaine Aron's website, which has some questions which will define for you whether you're an HSP. But there are other aspects as well of our makeup that people find out late. There's a lot of information out at the moment about how many women are finding later in life that they are ADHD. Neurodivergence is in the news a lot these days. It's getting more understood, getting more widely known, and so those of us at my time of life, I'm 60, is that we didn't have those kind of diagnoses when we were at school. So often we do find these things out as we go through life, and it can be really helpful to just put a name on what it is that we've been feeling. But the other aspect of what makes us tick that is super important is our values. Do you know what your values are? What's really important to you? Again, this was something that I looked into, it'd be about 10 years ago now when I really started looking into who I am so that I could find out what I was going to do next in my life. And I found that freedom was a massive value for me, really important, and I hadn't actually realised that before. And when I look back on my life, it feels a bit crazy now, because I know that I feel trapped if I'm in an environment that I have no control over. So again, going back to time in law, I didn't like the fact that I had no control over my schedule, over what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And again, it goes with that environment piece that I was talking about earlier. My environment has to be open because I like to feel free. I don't like to feel hemmed in. So for example, I'm going to go for a walk after I finish speaking to you, because I have been in the house a little bit already this morning, and I just need to get outside and feel that freedom and that fresh air. So that is one of my values. I mean, there are plenty of others, and you will have plenty as well. You will be different to me, obviously, because we are all different. But it is something that's really helpful to look into if you are considering a change in your life. So, maybe you do want to change career. Maybe you're thinking about moving to live in a different place. Getting to know yourself is really important, because it makes those decisions going forward much easier if you really know who you are. And this is why it is one of the very first things that I work on in my mentoring programs with lawyers who want to get out of their job. So there we are. That's what I wanted to say about knowing yourself. I hope you found some of that helpful for you. It's great to be back with you, and I do plan on speaking again on Tuesdays, hopefully at this sort of time, because being a morning person, that's what suits me best. So have a great week. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back here again soon. Bye for now.